Welcome to Friday's edition of Ridge Views. Over the last 2 weeks, we have talked about a Hebrew word, Shema, which means to listen, to obey. It actually means both, to listen and to obey. When I hear that, it reminds me of the song I grew up with, Trust and Obey. And so today, we're going to talk about trust and Shema, or trusting. Trusting is something that is both learned and earned. When you think about a baby when it's born, a baby, the only thing it can do when it needs something is to cry. And so baby cries when it's hungry, and a parent hears the cry and responds by feeding the baby. Over time, the parents learn the different cries and knows that, oh, that cry, he's hungry, or this cry, she's tired, we need to put her down. But every time a baby cries and a parent responds in a way that brings relief to the child, that child is learning that it can trust its parents. At the same time, the parents are showing that they are trustworthy, that they care and love the child, and that they are striving to meet the needs of that child. So in all that infant time, the child and the parents are forming this trusting relationship. When the child grows up a little bit, the trust that the child has learned about his parents will transform into obedience on his part. When the parent instructs the child, no, don't do that, the child who has already learned that the parent is trustworthy will be more likely to obey the parent, because the parent is already someone whom the baby trusts. Trust and obey. It is both earned and learned. Now, there are times when we cannot always learn that someone is trustworthy before we need to obey them. When the child goes to school, for example, hasn't had a chance to form a relationship with the teacher, but that child still needs to obey the instruction of the teacher. In that situation, the child must make a decision. Am I going to trust before I learn if they are trustworthy, or am I not? It's been my experience that a child that has been raised in a home where trust is in abundance, that child will operate from I will trust you until you give me reason not to trust you perspective. Where a child whose life experience has been scarce when it comes to trust, or at least inconsistent, then that child may operate from you have to earn my trust before I'm going to obey you. Trust and obey. You know, there's a story in the Bible about a family, Isaac and Rebekah, and their 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. And Esau was the firstborn, and so he was the one who traditionally should have received the birthright, the blessing. But he also sold that birthright to his brother for a bowl of stew. And when we come to Genesis chapter 27, Isaac is making plans to give the birthright, the blessing, to Esau. And Rebekah hears the plan. And Rebekah has a conversation not with Isaac and not with Esau, but with her other son, Jacob. And so take a look at this story. In this story, Rebekah tells Jacob to Shema her commandments. Listen to my instruction. Obey my instruction. And then she instructs him to be deceitful against his father Isaac. Trusting, obeying, it's tricky. We learn who we can trust, but sometimes the person that we trust lets us down. Or sometimes a person doesn't always have our best interest at heart. And even when they do, and even when they love us deeply, sometimes their advice to us or their instruction to us is lacking. It may not be well thought out. And so we struggle with trusting other people. We struggle to obey simply because we've learned, whether it's through Bible stories, whether it's in our own family, or whether it's on the playground, that who we listen to matters. And that not every instruction that comes our way is something that we need to be obedient to. Trusting and obeying is difficult because people are fallible and we sometimes make mistakes. Trust and obey. We tend to listen and obey the people we trust the most. And so it really boils down to relationship, doesn't it? Can we trust one another? I wonder how that comes into play when it comes to trusting and obeying God. We'll be talking about that next Friday. Until then, be blessed.